Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. Thanks for tuning in. I want to use this video to address something I've observed as I've watched carefully and studied over the past 10 years or so, and that's how the narcissistic male views marriage. Now, before I start this video, I definitely have to do some disclaimers and say this is not all men. This is narcissistic men in particular. And then anytime you do a male-female video, the other side or the side that it's addressing usually pops up and says, but what about the women? Women do it too. Yes, they do. But this video is about the narcissistic male. So for those of you who want insight on narcissistic women, believe me, I have got quite a few videos coming because narcissism affects males and females almost equally. Last time I checked, I think the split was like 51-49, 51% male, 49% female. So that's almost half and half. So this definitely affects males and females equally. And one of my biggest tormentors was a female boss. So this video is geared towards narcissistic men, but believe me, I've got a lot of heat coming for the narcissistic women out there. So let's jump right in to how the narcissistic male views marriage. The first thing I noticed was the narcissistic male uses marriage as a tool of credibility. So there's one in particular that I know, and he actually said it. And you know what's interesting about narcs is if you gain their trust, or if they kind of give up on you as a target, but they never really let go, they will often confess so much in their just common everyday conversation. They will tell you so much about who they are as people. And he actually said to me, he was like, you know, I'm the youngest guy in my department. I'm the youngest manager, and everyone else is at least 20 years older than me, and they're all married with kids. So I have to get married to kind of, establish myself in their eyes so they don't just see me as this young kid. At the time, he was like 30. So that placed all of his peers in their 50s and above. So in his mind, I need to get married to establish my credible look, to establish my authority in the eyes of my peers, who all really could be my dad. So they view it as a tool of credibility. Now, imagine being the woman. I'm sure he didn't say to her when he got down on one knee, babe, I really need you because right now they don't take me seriously. And if I marry you, they'll take me seriously. So it's a tool of credibility, which to the surface thinker or to the narcissist thinker makes perfect sense. Hey, I want to keep climbing the ladder. I need to look credible. It's almost like if a man were to run for president and weren't married. I would be okay with that. But can you imagine how greater society would view that? They would all probably think he's creepy and weird. And it's unfortunate. Why do you have to be in a union to be considered a whole person? Why do you have to be married to be considered smart enough to do a job? So anyway, but this is how the narcissist thinks. It's a tool. It's a tool to achieve a goal, okay? Here's the next thing I noticed among narcissistic men and marriage. So I follow a lot of groups on Facebook. I participate in a lot of comments and comment boards and groups like that. And I've been in them so long that I've seen a lot of the guys go from single guys to married guys. The narc guys, let me clarify that. And one thing I've noticed with the narc guys, they were horrible men before they got married. And I say this by virtue of the things they chose to write and put out there on Facebook, put out there on social media. And that's where this opinion is coming from. So they were horrible people before they got married. Then once they got married, I noticed that they used the marriage as like a tool of shame towards women who weren't married yet. So the thread might be about cooking, which is always a hot topic. And, the guys who were horrible men, then they got married, they'd be like, well, that's why y'all aren't married now. That's why you're not married. That's always like that's their trump card. You can't have a real argument with them because they shut down every argument with, well, that's why you're not married yet. As if that's the ultimate stamp of validation for a woman. So when I was born into the world, or when another woman was born into the world and weren't married, they're totally invalidated until the day that they say I do, is basically what they're saying. You have no worth, you have no value, you have no credibility because you're not married. You're invalid. You don't exist. You're not even a real person. So this is kind of how they wield their marriage as a tool for shaming and trying to prove some ultimate point, as if being married to them is some type of prize, as if being married to them is like, yes, I won the lottery. I feel sorry for a lot of their wives because these men are very, very sick and they married them. And they'll discover it over time if they don't know it already. But now they're trapped in a very, very legal situation that they can get out of, but it's going to be very expensive and it's going to cause a lot of hurt and pain along the way. Okay? So credibility among the peers, it's a tool of credibility. It's a tool of shaming and kind of like belittling other women who aren't married. Because you know what I've noticed? They never say it to men. They never say, well, hey man, hey dude, that's why you're not married, man. You got an XYZ and then you might have a chance of getting married. But bro, that's why you're not married. They never say it to guys. It's only to women. They couldn't do it before because they weren't married. But now that they are, it's almost like a high horse positioning. Okay? Number 3, narcissistic men view their wives almost like permanent personal assistants. So they married this particular woman because she will fit the role well. She'll play her role well. She'll cook. She'll clean. She'll have sex with him on demand. She won't question him. She'll let him do what he wants. She'll have the kids. She'll raise the kids. She'll do all things concerning the kids. The only thing he has to do is wake up, go to work, come home. That's it. He feels like that is his contribution. Everything else falls on her. In his mind, that is a woman's job. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids. And it's even more compounded when the woman works too. So if she has a full-time job also, and then all the responsibilities of the house, all the responsibilities of the kids, all he has to do is get up, go earn some money, come home, but he doesn't put forth any effort towards the maintenance of the house, which really is a small business. Every home, even if you're a single person living in an apartment by yourself, your house, your apartment is a small business. So that only compounds with every employee you get. So when you get married, you just got a new employee. When you have kids, you just got like 10 new employees, okay? Every home is a small business, and it takes a lot to run a home. And if he has taken care of a home before in his single days, why is he suddenly unable to care for the home now that he's married? Because he has a permanent live-in personal assistant. That's why. This is how narcissistic men think. They don't think in terms of balance. They don't think in terms of real effort and like what's really required to make something happen. So a lot of the women, you often will hear them say, he doesn't want to put any effort towards the housework. He wants me to do everything. And I'm so tired by the end of the day that I don't want to have sex with him. And then he gets mad, which, why is he getting mad like a 4-year-old? Because he feels like he's entitled to sex from his wife. And a lot of these narcissistic men do. A lot of these narcissistic men feel like their wife cannot tell them no when it comes to sex. And I completely 100% disagree with that. I know there's some biblical references that say, it's a woman's job. She honors her husband with her body and vice versa or something like that. But, a woman's no could mean a whole lot of different things. There's a lot that goes on with being a woman. So if a woman has taken a full assessment and told you no, you might want to take her up on that offer. There might be some things you might discover, if you press forward, that you realize, oh, that's why she said no. But my point is, he feels entitled to sex from his wife. She can't tell him no. That's his wife. That's his property. Are you kidding me? So, that causes a lot of strife And he's not even realizing that if her no is due to exhaustion, he might actually be able to help by helping out around the house, helping with the kids, taking some of the burden off her so she's not so exhausted, so maybe she will be turned on by you. But right now, she's not turned on by your lazy, entitled ass. She's just not. Okay, but they don't get that. Narcissistic men really don't get that. And I think one of the biggest blessings of social media, to the ladies listening that are single, if you're dating a guy or if you've just met a guy and he has a social media account, by all means, see what you can do to become a friend, if it's, getting serious or whatever, or even before it becomes serious, so you can see what he writes on social media. You need to see what he writes. That is a gift. In the past, we did not have the gift of internal thoughts by writing. People would just say things, but, it would take a long time to get to know a person because everything was done kind of verbally. Texts weren't there, emails weren't there, social media definitely wasn't there. Social media is a gift in the form of people just spill out their innermost thoughts on social media, and you can learn so much about a person by reading their thoughts on marriage, males, females, dating, things that you wouldn't know, attitudes you wouldn't even know that they hold without reading their comments. There are people that I've lost so much respect for over the years because of what they've written down. And all I can think to myself is, if I didn't see this, I would think highly of you. And that's scary. So somehow get into his brain if you can in terms of reading what he's written down. If he doesn't have social media, well, you're just going to have a lot of conversations and ask a lot of questions. But if he's a narcissist, that's not going to happen. He's going to direct and lead. You're never really going to get a chance to have real conversations. But on social media, narcissists love to boast. They love to brag. They love to tear people down and belittle people and shame them. And you can usually see that in the things that they write. Okay? So, credibility among peers. It's a tool of shaming or bragging. It's a tool of superiority. There we go. The wife is always a permanent personal assistant, live-in personal assistant, and the relationship remains chronically imbalanced. The wife may find that they no longer go out on dates if they even really went before. It's very easy for him to forget a birthday or to give a very impersonal gift. It's not the marriage that she thought she would have. She thought she would have a loving, romantic, caring relationship, and really all she's gotten was like an in-house indentured servant who occasionally gets acknowledged or remembered or treated nicely. The relationship remains chronically imbalanced, and not only that, it may become more imbalanced after marriage because now in the narcissist's mind, now he really doesn't have to work. He's done the hard work. He bought the ring. He went through with the ceremony. Maybe he bought a house. There you go. What more do you want from me? I bought you a ring. I went through with the ceremony. I bought you a house. Now leave me alone. I've done my part for the next 50 years. Why are you complaining? What are you complaining about? I've done my part. I did my part once. So now you do your part for the next 50 years. This is how they think. Their brain just shuts down in terms of how to treat other people, especially their wife, because now they really view their wife as property. Okay? And the final one here is narcissistic males find it very, very, very easy to cheat on their wives. Very easy. Why? Because they don't marry for the same reasons. They didn't marry her because they were in love with her and they loved her personality and her heart and her values and her accomplishments. They married her because she fit a role well. It's almost like when you hire an employee, they had a certain skill set that you needed them to have. This woman had a certain skill set that he needed her to have as a permanent personal live-in assistant. So he basically hired an employee. And I don't think your employee cares if you go to lunch with someone else or who you sleep with or who you go to dinner with or whatever. I don't think your employee cares. All your employee cares is that you pay him, okay, and that you treat him pretty fairly. And so that's all the narc really tries to do. He pays her in the form of paying the bills. And he treats her nice enough to where people wouldn't be like, man, you're really mean to your wife. Okay? And that's all he feels like he owes her. And that's it. And that's why narc males find it so easy to cheat. They feel like they're entitled to women, first of all. They feel like they've done their part in the marriage. They pay the bills. They treat her nice enough. And if they have kids, they, and I put this in quotation marks, take care of the kids. All right? And they feel like that's all they owe her. They don't see a woman as an emotional being with feelings and who might want a friendship and a real relationship. They feel like they've done their part in regard to a wife. They give the real relationship to the mistresses because those are the women that they're paying attention to for reasons other than running a small business. Does that make sense? So the wife is like the chief operating officer. The mistresses are like who they actually have their fun with, if that makes sense. This is how they think. I know this from years and years and years of reading their comments and what I've studied and just observed and experienced in my own life. And it's really sad because a lot of these women will give their whole lives to these men and never get the reciprocation that they're looking for because they don't realize what role that they actually are in this guy's life. You're the chief operating officer. In most organizations, the CEO is not sleeping with the chief operating officer. I mean, I'm sure it happens. But it's not common. So these are just a few of the ways that narcissistic males view marriage. It's a tool. It's a role. It's, hey, perfect. I found someone to help me run my small business and raise my lineage up. You know, because they don't want to raise kids. Come on, it's too messy. It's too messy. It's too noisy. They don't want any parts of that. They don't want to get their hands dirty, but they do want their seed out there. They do want their lineage out there. So they've got someone to raise up their lineage. They've got, you know, someone to run the household and take care of all their clothes and things as if they're 4 years old. And they got the credibility in the eyes of society. They've got the wife, the kids, the home. They've got all that. And so they figure like they're done. So that's how the narcissistic male views marriage. I'd be very interested to hear your perspective. Thanks for listening. Take care, everybody.